When Avram Avinu reached the place where the Akedah would occur, he tells those that are with him to stay where they are. Ani v'hana nelcha ad kol, that I, together with my son, we will journey yonder. And Chazal, our sages, detect that this word kor is used and found in another context. We find in Parashat Mesorah that it says, Kor tavaruchu es bnei Yisrael, that so you shall bless the children of Israel. And our sages deduce that in the merit of the sentiment expressed by Avram Avinu by the Akedah, so the Jewish people were rewarded generations later with the blessing of Birkas Kohanim, in which they would receive divine protection. The question is obvious: what possible connection is there between Avram Avinu at the time of the Akedah and the blessing Birkas Kohanim that happened generations later? Rabbi Pinchus Roberts, Zichrono Livrocha, suggested the following beautiful answer. He suggested that the primary duty of parents is to transmit to their children the Mesorah, the tradition, from one generation to the next. There is a golden chain, an unbroken chain, that started with the patriarchs and went all the way through to Har Sinai, and from Har Sinai, there it was established that it would be passed from Moshe to Yeshua to Zikanim, to the prophets, and so on and so forth. And every generation, it is alive and well, and it is meant to be passed without any dilution, without any weakness in this chain. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. In England, we find that we have something called the London Underground, and as one boards a train, they say, mind the gap. In Judaism also, there is something very similar. It's called mind the generation gap. In other words, there is a duty that is incumbent upon parents, upon mashpiyim, to ensure that they are able to pass the Mesorah, to pass their traditions, to pass the Yiddishkeit, the Yahadut, from one generation to the next, the same way that they received it in a pristine condition, with tremendous excitement, hislavus, with tremendous rizus from their parents, so it should be passed on to their children in the same way. When it came to the Akedah, so we find that Avram Avinu had received a command from the Ribbono Shel Olam. Hashem had told Avram Avinu directly that he should take his son and he should offer him up. Yitzchak Avinu had not received such a command. He's reliant and dependent on what he'd been told by his father. And yet we know that there was no deviation, that they were exactly on the same page. Vayechu shnehem yachtov. They were exactly aligned. There were two minds, exactly the same way of thinking, determined to fulfill the Ratzon Hashem. Despite the fact at the time human sacrifice was very common, and the whole basis of Yiddishkeit, of which Avram Avinu had established monotheism and Yiddishkeit, was the basis that it was a sanctity of life, and that human sacrifice was the antithesis. Va'ani va'ana nelcha ad kol. Yitzchak relied implicitly on his father's words, and therefore willingly joined him in his supreme test of faith. It was this that our sages observed is the merit in which the submission by Yitzchak towards the parental authority, that was the merit in which we received the Birkas Kohanim generations later. Va'ani v'archem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, when I see that there is these two generations, there's parents and there's children, and they are completely aligned, they're completely committed to the same values, there is no break in the chain, then I guarantee that whatever sphere, whatever area and realm of life, I guarantee I'm going to protect, I'm going to look after these children. At the conclusion of Parshas B'Shalach, we find that there is an epic encounter and battle between our arch-enemy, Amalek, and we find that the description is such that the Torah indicates that the battle will take place midor, from one generation to the next. And the word dor